I just think there's so much changing every day in our industry, like with the systems that we're introducing, the new roles that are going to be needed. I wonder, do we even understand what our skills gap is anymore? I feel like we have a shortage of pathways for what we need to deliver the pipeline that the government set out.
Not necessarily the volume, but the type of skills. But the other deeper cause is also our response. I think our response is a bit fragmented, and yet we're building talent without having the system views.
No one company is going to resolve the skills gap.
WGIC Horizons, a podcast for latest technology, business, partnerships, and policy trends in geospatial industry.
Hello and welcome to Horizons, the World Geospatial Industry podcast. I'm Zubran Solaiman. I am the president of WGIC and the director of industry advancement policy at Bentley Systems. And I'm joined by Alex Pearsall, president of CICES. Alex, tell us a bit about CICES.
Yeah, I'm Alex Pearsall and I'm the president of the Chartered Institution of Civil Engineering Surveyors, so CICES. CICES is the leading international professional body for specialists in geospatial surveying and commercial management in the construction industry, and we have around 4,500 members. So within the two fields of geospatial and commercial, there are various different pathways that our members can go through to get their membership. CICES itself is governed by an elected Council of Management. So the Council of Management is formed of volunteers that are elected by our members into those positions. It then has specialist committees, which from listening to a podcast that you've done recently, Zubes, I think it's similar to WGIC. So we have the various committees, which is made up of our members and people that are volunteering to kind of contribute to the institution and how we drive it forward. So yeah, we have those panels to kind of liaise and collaborate with industry and academia, government and other professional bodies. We have members worldwide, so active regions in UK, Ireland, Americas, Oceania. How do you say that? I think I've just said that wrong.
Oceania?
Oceania.
That goes well.
Oceania, Hong Kong, UAE,
Okay.
and many others. So that's kind of a overview of CICES itself. What about you, Zubs, with WGIC?
Yeah, so first off, people call me Zubs. If I mess up, then, Zubran, then for sure, Alex will get my attention. WGIC stands for World Geospatial Industry Council. Historically, it started off as, it still is, a not-for-profit trade association of geospatial company that created geospatial technologies. So it started off with Autodesk, Esri, Fugro, Bentley, these kind of organizations that created these technologies that are geospatial oriented. The intent was that these organizations, because they use spatial, they create a platform where they can talk to other industries. Where's the geospatial industry technology heading? What value is being created in the industry space and all that kind of stuff there. That was the core intent, and still is the core intent. As we go forward, and then typically it's been happening for the last decade or so, the whole idea of geospatial concept is just everywhere. It's like how cities are planned, how traffic is planned, the logistics behind it, climate change, all that kind of stuff have some form of geospatial context to it. And increasingly we see organizations capturing geospatial data and then enriching it. So our membership is growing beyond the traditional forum of people who would create software to people who would also enrich the data. So we have people like AWS as our members, for example. And finally, then there is the committees like yourself mentioned. That to me, I call them the brainchild.
Yeah.
Because yes, we can have a conversation with these various institutions, but having committees, in effect, creates content and how we're addressing these challenges. From there, we also have various channels. So our channels are what we call horizon platforms. And that came through, that was also an organic thing that sort of happened. Historically, we would meet typically at geospatial events, right? So these same people would come and we can talk about roughly the same thing. But since the industry is shifting, and it's shifting towards other people using the mining industries, using geospatial capability sets and so forth, we are having these as a forum. We're going to these events where we would go to the mining industry event. We would go to, energy event and talk about the geospatial side of things. So our organizations, we end up talking to these adjacent industries as well. So that's basically us, and our intent is to amplify the voice of our members. When we first met, you mentioned something that struck a chord to me. You're saying that one of your mentors, you mentioned, in fact, here that that to identify your career path, they were quizzing you what your superpowers are. So what is Alex's superpower?
Yeah.
That
I think when I came into this industry, I think I started in a main contractor environment, so 15 years ago. Like, there wasn't that many people like me. Like, it was quite rare to come across another woman in the industry. Less so now, and especially on the consultancy side. Like, I see so many more women now. So I think from the beginning, I kind of put pressure on myself that to be a leader, I needed to have the characteristics of the people that I'd seen as leaders. So I was constantly in this battle with, like, I need to change myself. And then I met this mentor actually when I started at Turner & Townsend. And she asked me, she just said, what's your superpower? And it really sat with me. I had to go away and think about it because I was like, I don't know. Like, I've never been asked that. And I said my superpower is empathy. So kind of leading with care. And I think that question, when we then had the follow-up conversation about it, was actually, I don't need to change anything about who I am, because you can be a leader within your own right. And I think the more that you're true to yourself, the more natural your progression will be. What would you say your superpower is, Zeus, if you had to?
Oh, I think the fact that the mentor asks that question to you, right? I found that quite interesting. In my career, and it's surprising how these mentors just live with you and it's there, right? And they sort of, I won't say you, but they just sort of tease out these characteristics of you. You would not have thought of it yourself.
No.
So I was lucky enough to have 3 mentors, one at my high school, at my high school in Sweden, as I went to my first career. He's retired now. And my mentor at Bentley, I've known him for many years, and right now I'm lucky enough for him to be my manager. And the commonalities between those 3 mentors were they would always encourage me to ask questions. So that would they would and so if I could call it a quotation superpower, was to always to zoom out, ask the annoying question and see the context. So
being curious.
Being curious. So that everything has a context, right? So for example, if someone comes to me with a brief, and I believe it's a narrow brief, I would always try to find the context. How does it connect to policy or to technology or process? That's not really been asked for. And to some people, they find it infuriating. I mean, that annoys my children to no end. Just right, for example. But, if you think about this, and that got me thinking, right? And by sheer coincidence, I stumbled across a quote by Einstein that he said, and I hope I'm not getting this out of, I can't remember it, but verbatim. He said, if I had 1 hour to solve a problem, I'll spend 55 minutes trying to answer trying to ask the right questions, and 5 minutes to find the answer.
Yeah.
So yes, it's annoying to some people. I'm doing that, but it also helps to reframe the problem. And then I feel that that's something, the curiosity side of things, like you mentioned, Alex, it sort of helps.
Yes.
Yeah. So I would say, the zooming out is my superpower.
Yeah. And I think as well, like even just being able to set that example and ask all of those questions, I think people that are coming in like earlier in their careers, like our grads and our apprentices, just being able to see that the leaders are asking as many questions. So ask as many questions as you want to, right?
The curiosity thing, I think that is profound to do that, even if, where technology is going and so forth. Just don't be
100%.
blindsided by addressing what somebody in the past, just because it was done in the past doesn't mean it's the right way forward, right?
Yeah.
So that's that. And speaking of that, and I think your CICES and WGIC has one commonality, which is the discussion point about skills gap.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. I think both organizations are talking about that. It's a no conversation that's happening. What's your view on that?
So I have a bit of a different perspective on it after starting my presidency. So obviously my presidential theme with CICS is shaping the future of construction. And one of the pillars naturally of that is the skills gap and kind of education piece. And I just think there's so much changing every day in our industry, like with the systems that we're introducing, the new roles that are going to be needed. I wonder, do we even understand what our skills gap is anymore? Because it's not as simple as we need this many QSs and this many surveyors. We've got so many different roles. And I think unless we understand fundamentally what our skills gap is and what the future of our industry is, we can't address the problem. And that's not to be naive to the kind of issues we know from, especially from like a geospatial perspective, where we know that schools and unis are struggling to pick up the qualifications. So we actually don't have that many entry routes from that perspective. But I think what part one for me would be, do we know what our skills gap is anymore? And then part two would be, do we have a shortage of people, which I know we do. We all know the numbers. We've seen the numbers. But I feel like we have a shortage of pathways for what we need to deliver the pipeline that the government set out. I don't know what your thoughts are, Zubs, or
so I have a similar, because I was thinking about this as we committees were starting, and as I similar to you, as we go to debates association, this kind of conversation is coming up, and the fact remains, right, that the demand of the skilled professionals are rising faster than the pipeline. I mean, that's a statement, and I believe, and there are two deeper causes, and the first one is akin to yours, and that crystallized in my head with the topic of AI. So, my interpretation of this, it's which is similar to yours, that it is not necessarily the volume, but the type of skills. That's right. Professional, you sort of know the professional GIS, professional geospatial industry looks right now very different than it did 10 years ago, right? I mean, it has changed. But if you look at the people that we train, they didn't know what was coming there, right? So they are now behind on where things are, and so I think apprenticeship is a good way forward, where these things can be, that gap can be reduced much faster. I mean, if we park the volume question to one side, it can be addressed much faster. But the other deeper reason that I was having in beyond the volume and the type of skills is also our response. I think our response is a bit fragmented. So we
Yeah.
have these professional bodies, we have universities, we have public institutions. They're pouring resources into their activities, but I don't think it's coordinated.
Yeah.
And because I'm an infrastructure guy, I probably can think of a metaphor. Like, for example, if we're doing infrastructure planning and we are building a road,
Yeah.
just don't build a road, right? I
Yeah.
mean, you look at the traffic flows, you look at the
Yeah.
demand, you look at how it's connected,
Yeah.
and yet we're building talent without having the system view. So I think it's that coordination that is sort of required. And so, the fact that our two organizations are talking to each other, and then, that's a sign that we are trying to address some of these things organically.
Yeah. And I think, like you said, you see so many people working in silos on similar things. And I think when it's like bigger companies, it kind of drifts off or falls off because there's not the time or capacity to have it. Whereas if, as these institutions and these professional bodies, if we can all come together, we can almost drive the collaboration, and the companies can support us in doing so. But collaboration is needed, because no one company is going to resolve the skills gap and all of the issues that are facing our industry.
Wholeheartedly agree. The coordination, the awareness setting, that's essentially what is sort of needed here. And that said, that we don't overcomplicate it. It's just a question of just raise awareness and understanding where things are going, and take it from there. And it's that, and institutions like WGIC and CICES, because we are at the tip of that conversation. We are hopefully shaping these conversations. Anyway, I was going to ask you how are you coping trying to do your day job? I mean, I got a day job which is obviously pretty demanding, and I don't know how much you travel, but I travel a decent amount. And then you have the the CICES function as well, and I'm sure there are a lot of meetings and activities that take place. Could you share how you balance the two activities, the two worlds?
Yes. I'm not sure I've quite mastered the balance. I'll probably master the balance like right towards the end. Yeah, no, but I do have some answers, because I think mine's a unique situation, right? In that so how it works at CICS is you join the presidential chain, you're elected into the presidential chain. So then you've got a 4-year commitment. So you do a year as vice president, a year as senior vice president, a year as president, and a year as immediate past president. That's the commitment.
Okay, so that's 4 years. Okay, all right.
Yeah, 4 years. So I've had a very busy 4 years separately from that, in both work, like got a promotion at work, but then also in my personal life. So I got married whilst I had vice president, and then I had my first baby whilst I was senior vice president. So I've had a year out of the industry. And then when I returned to work, I kind of had a 6-month period to start my presidency. So I think navigating it not only from a work and CICS perspective, but also my home life as well, because my daughter is very young and there's like crucial bits that I don't want to miss out on.
Absolutely.
So I think for me, I just plan, typically I would plan a month, but that's not achievable, I don't think, with where I'm at professionally and with CICS at the moment. So I just open my calendar on a week, I plan out my week, I do my work in blocks, and then, to be honest, and this works for me and it won't work for everyone, but I tend to just work in the evenings, because that means I can come home, I can do bath time, bedtime, and then I can do work. So I still get to see and spend time with Evelyn, her daughter's her name's Evelyn, and then I kind of spend time in the evening. I think there's always going to be busy periods, and I feel like, I don't know if you agree, they all come at once. Like, it would be perfect if they were perfectly planned.
yes.
Everything happens at once.
Yeah, the metaphor of all the buses come at the same time, right? It's so accurate.
True. So for me, planning is a key thing, and that's probably how I balance it. And also just accepting that some weeks are going to be busier than others, and traveling. I think we have a yearly presidential visit to Hong Kong, which is always in April, and it's a week long. And I was quite nervous about it when I came back from mat leave. I was like, I don't really want to be a week away. I'm not a great flyer either. So all of that combined, and I just kept telling myself, it'll be fine. And then it got closer to the time, and I just had a conversation with Simon, the CEO, and just said, I can't do it. I can't be away for a week. It just doesn't work for me and my family. And I think there's power in having those boundaries. I assessed the situation and I made the best decision for myself, and the senior vice president went in my place. I just think, for me, having those boundaries and planning, that's kind of how I manage the balance. How do you manage it, Zubs? Maybe I can take some tips.
Well, I don't know, so I'm going to give you tips there. But before I answer that, I just want to congratulate you on being the youngest president.
Thank you.
At CIC. That's a commitment in itself, right? So doing that, and then the child, looking after your baby, and the promotion that's happened. And the fact that you said no, I guess that's part of the planning process as well, right? Just to say, look, so I'm sort of lucky to have a strong WGIC team supporting it. I mean, if it didn't happen, then it'd be pretty tough. So obviously we have the people who are employed by WGIC, the executive director and the assistant director. They sort of help, and all the staff behind there does all the planning for WGIC and helps coordinate and sends information nicely there. And also the other part that I'm really lucky. I mean, I count my blessing all the time here. Because the executive team that looks after during my presidential year is somebody from Esri and TomTom there, right? Okay. So the three of us, we put our differences to one side because we are, to some extent, there is some form of yes, we are in the geospatial industry that one could argue, are you competitors? But, we sort of look at the industry at whole. And I'm sort of just lucky to have these kind of individuals that are working together. So having Matt from Esri and having Marius from TomTom and that sort of helps the planning process. If I can't make it, there are so many events whereby I have to go to we were asked to go to US for one of our events. I couldn't attend, so Marius and Matt sort of stepped in.
Lovely.
So it's just fortunate to be in that position there. We meet on a regular basis as well, so the camaraderie sort of is improving is there. And so, like you try to do as much forward planning as I can. It sometimes helps when there is also a Bentley activity and a WGIC activity in the same space. So I try to connect the two things together if possible. So I believe, in essence, that the day job at Bentley makes me a better president, and the president makes me a better Bentley colleague. So while at Bentley, I'm working in this ecosystem where I'm connecting just, our customers and associations and so forth. I'm still in an ecosystem, but when I'm at WGIC, I feel that I'm on the rooftop of that ecosystem, and I can see how the buildings are connected. I think you need to have both to sort of understand that landscape. So I'm like you. I'm lucky to have good support. Like you, I try to do the best planning as I possibly can. But I think also we are like you supported. We have supported. People at Turner's Townsend for you and supported for for Bentley, and
Yeah.
I think we just make it work.
Yeah.
I think.
And I think it's important as well, like you touched on, it's important to give credit to our employers that they see the value in doing these roles halves, and they support you as much as they physically can. I think as well, like whilst we're talking about being volunteers, what do you think the benefit is to these kind of institutions being run? Obviously, we've got the day-to-day running, which is the staff of the institutions. We wouldn't survive without those, right? But what do you think the benefit is in having volunteers kind of support the strategic direction and the relationships and the committees? Like, why do you think that's so important?
Why it's important for someone, for example, from Bentley working in an association?
No, so kind of like, so like the volunteers. So for me, I think it's always been like if we as professionals don't shape the future of our profession, then someone else will, right? So it's one of the few places where you can kind of think beyond your project and above your role. And, you know, we all work in this industry. It is going to affect our day to day. So I think it's so important, if you can and if you have the time, to be a volunteer for your institution so that you can be the voice, right?
I think that's it's okay. I see where you're coming, and I agree with you. To me, the whole idea of volunteering is two things here. One is probably the cliche statement of giving something back.
Yes.
If you sort of think about my journey, and whilst I did multiple jobs there, the core thread has been some geospatial element to that, and giving something back is one aspect. Sounds like cliche, but it's a fact. Giving something back. But I also think it makes me a better person.
Yeah.
You know, in two ways, it gives me a better person. A, from an industry perspective, as I was giving the rooftop example, I can sort of see all the various things that are happening, where the policy is changing, and so forth. That sort of helps I get more information, and then I can obviously work with Bentley on that, and other people, associations like yourself, saying this is what's sort of happening, this is what I can sort of see. You know, you have the telescopic sort of zoom and sort of seeing what's sort of happening. That's one. But also, I find it so enriching when I'm speaking to other organizations where we put our differences together and support each other, kind of stuff. Because, you know, there are so many problems out there that there is enough food at the table for everybody. You know, and then the fact that we are working together, I find that almost human, that we're putting our differences aside and trying to solve these world problems. Now imagine trying to take those kind of principles and apply it. Well, there are other bigger problems to be had, right? So, anyway, I find that interesting.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And not to shift too dramatically, but I would love to know kind of your thoughts on what AI changes for professionals in our field, because we've spoken about it quite a lot already. What do you think it changes?
That's the elephant in the room, right? It is there. You just have to accept it. It's here. Just say,
embrace it.
Embrace it. I use AI all the time in various capacities there. So I have certain views, and these are obviously my views. There's some degree of subjectivity there. I'm also doing a course at Oxford University to do learning on AI. So I'm just trying to, have some substance behind that.
Yeah.
So AI is great, as we know, for pattern recognition, processing large data, generating options, and so forth. I mean, those things are there. Agentic AI, generative AI, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, that's there. But if I put my infrastructure hat on, it doesn't really help right now with the context. It doesn't provide the physical context that we need to, it doesn't have operational context. Now, so, I mean,
Yeah.
let's park AI to one side. Now, it's like, I'm not a scientist, but
Yeah.
imagine a layman and a scientist looking under a microscope, looking at something. Both of us see the same stuff, but only
Yeah.
the scientist can say what this actually means.
Yes. Yeah.
And only the scientist can say what it actually means.
Yeah.
And so, previously, I would say the AI, the specialists typically, historically, the specialists could typically run the geospatial analysis. Like, hey, let's get this guy to run an analysis or using certain tools.
Mhm.
And obviously, some of those functions can be now done by AI, right? That could do some of this geospatial analysis and so forth. But now, I believe the shift is happening that the skill is required to ask the right questions to the AI and interpret those answers. So it's different skills,
Mhm.
but still a human skill.
Yeah.
That
Yes.
that's required
Yeah.
to do that. And without the deep knowledge that our organization is providing or CICS is providing and so
Yeah.
forth, right? I mean, you'll be at a loss. So that's my view. What's yours?
I would
Yeah.
say it's quite similar. I think it's no secret, like I say it at most events that I go to, that AI and digital definitely isn't my forte, and I kind of lean on people around me. But I think one of the key themes that I'm seeing, and I think I would agree with, is it doesn't remove the need for the various roles that we have in industry. It's kind of twofold. It's its own role in its right, which then creates a whole number of other roles, because it's not just one person and they can be AI and that's it. There's so many different facets to AI and digital. But I think it kind of raises the bar on what we can deliver. Like I think we can use AI to improve the way that we work, and it can kind of take away the reduce how long it takes you to do certain things. And I'm thinking about it from a
Productivity side of things.
commercial, from a commercial perspective. But AI outputs will still need professional judgment, and they'll still need someone to be accountable for it. And until that changes, I think there's a lot of fear around AI, and I think I would just encourage everyone to channel their inner Zubs and just be curious about it.
In the Zubs, I like that.
Yeah, and just find out more about it. I think, that's my kind of view on AI and what I see it doing.
That's quite a pragmatic approach to take it, right? I agree with that statement. There's no point fearing it.
Yeah.
It's how we embrace it and how we sort of pivot out these skills there. So I agree with that sentiment there.
Yeah, 100%.
So what's your so if I'm looking at how our conversation is going right now, there's a lot of synergies.
Yeah.
What you're saying, and obviously what I'm saying from both WGIC and CICS, professionally and personally as well. There's there. So what's your view on working much closer together? I mean, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think just from this conversation today that there's so much more we could be doing together. Whether that's kind of regular touch points, like collaborating on events, kind of sharing like what we're doing. For example, what white papers you guys are working on, like maybe one of our committees could support you on that. Like we have specific geospatial competency, our GEPC, so Geospatial Engineering Practices Committee. I just think there's so many kind of memorandums of understanding, so the MOUs that we sign, but we could be doing so much with this relationship, and I just hope that we collaborate more. What are your kind of thoughts? I always think of kind of events and content.
Events for sure is a great way of exchanging, sharing information, white papers, in terms of like getting your thoughts. See, the members are genuinely focused on the I'm going to use the word genuinely twice, but see, your members are working on the physical world.
Yes.
on the physical asset, the physical things, and there's a convergence happening, and it's going to be much, much closer. If you look at where regulation policies are happening,
Yeah.
convergence between the physical world and the digital world, and where our members are providing the digital intelligence and all that side of things. I just see the two be, to me, I see that we are just slightly different parts of the same supply chain.
Yeah.
In essence.
If your presidency with WGIC achieved one thing, what would it be?
That's a good question, actually. So the presidency that we have is half of yours, so it's only 2 years, not 4. Could it be more with less?
Although mine's only 1 year of president and then 3 years of other things.
True.
So yours is more.
True. But, I do track questions. Our members are represented in as many places as possible.
Yes.
As efficiently and cost effectively as possible. The brainchild, which are the committees, are far more recognized. In essence, I'm just, this year at least, I'm trying to increase the value that our members get.
Yes.
So the conversations of, hey, should we join WGIC? It's not a debate. It's like, hey, can I join WGIC? That's the shift in question. I'm trying to sort of, I'm trying to, establish in my leadership.
I think for my presidency, when I was deciding my theme, part of something that was kind of playing in my mind is that it is only 1 year. And I think the past 3 presidents in particular, so we had Andy with digital, and then we had Bats come in with collaboration, and then we had Ali, who obviously did education. I kind of wanted to wrap them up and maintain their good work so that it wasn't lost. So that's how I landed on shaping the future of construction.
I see.
And I think in a practical sense, I think I would hope that my presidency could kind of show young professionals that CICS and working with other institutions is a gateway to influence the industry that you're a part of, not just the accreditation itself. And I also think as well, like being the youngest president of CICS, I think I would hope that would leave a lasting statement on the institution and hopefully the industry. I think the future of construction is shaped by the decisions that we make today, and it is going to impact the people that are kind of earlier in their careers. And it's not about the kind of young versus experienced. It's about, making sure the professional leadership reflects the world that the industry is moving into. So I think I would hope that the changes that I make in the institution and the events that I kind of host would make a difference. But I really just do hope that being the youngest president does kind of send a message into the industry, and that it remains within the institution as well. So I think that's probably what I would say.
Well, I think that's a strong message. I think that's a very strong message to you. And I kudos to you to doing getting that or doing that.
Yeah.
So that's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm looking working with you, Alex, and so sharing.
Me too.
Sharing
I think it's been a great chat with you, Zubs.
Likewise.
Yeah. And I look forward to seeing you at GeoBusiness.
Yes, absolutely.
Like, subscribe and share to help us spread insightful geospatial conversations.